So we'll begin, and we'll be informal here about it. I am honored and privileged and just really super excited. Oh, super excited. I sound like a little kid. It's an honor to be doing this, and I know you haven't given many interviews in your life. Can you start out by telling me, why did you accept my? I mean, I wrote you about 12 letters, but you finally on the 12th talked to me. Why are you giving this interview? I mean, tell me why.
Because it started to get to me after a while.
What do you mean? What good?
I've always been conflicted about it, I guess, but I wasn't conscious of it until later, years later. At first I was just blown away by the chance, the opportunity, the challenge of making this film, and I went into it like it was a regular film, like another production of mine, not thinking too much about the long-term effects, what it would mean to society if it was ever discovered.
Mm-hmm. What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. You're referring to something.
The fake moon landing.
The rumor about the fake moon landing. You're saying is not a rumor or not is not an urban legend. You're saying it's true.
Yes, I'm sorry. I thought you knew that. But
no, I didn't. I mean, I've heard it like anyone else has heard it, but you. Okay.
Yeah, it was fake.
Wait, okay. And why me? Why not CNN or?
Well, the rumors were true.
Okay. Well, I obviously want to understand what the hell you're. I'm sorry, what you're talking about here. Okay, but and is that so? That's the 15-year thing. So that makes sense now. That's why I can't release this for 15 years. That makes total sense now.
Yes.
Okay. Because you have a super big secret that you're basically using me to conceal and then release like a time bomb.
And my upcoming film, Eyes Wide Shut, is all about secrecy. It takes place in the sexual underground, but it's really about secrecy.
Okay, well, before we even talk about the meta of secrecy, like what the F's are like. Wait, start from the beginning here. Can you start from the beginning? Like,
secrecy.
Okay, but let's take us back to the beginning. That we didn't land on the moon. You're saying, and you
No, we didn't land on the moon.
Okay, so I was born in '71.
Nobody landed.
I was born in '71. I didn't see that stuff anyway. So just how about you walk me through it? If you have, just indulge me here. We'll just do it quickly, or as quickly as we can. How did something like this start? Do you apply to an ad to film the moon landings?
No,
like what?
I was contacted by NASA.
Okay, when, where, why? I mean, what happened?
Before I started making 2001, so in the mid-'60s sometime.
After Kennedy said his thing, you're saying?
Well, considerably after then, yeah. And they had seen Dr. Strangelove, and I had originally requested use of the B-52 to film part of Dr. Strangelove, and they refused. But they were very impressed by the final...
great film.
It's one of my personal favorites, yes. Yeah. They were very impressed by the look of it.
They wouldn't let you use a B-52 that you asked for, right? You asked
no, they would not.
Well, so when you were doing 2001, obviously that's the space movie. So you're saying when you're doing the space movie, they contacted you then? I mean, obviously there's a relationship between that?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so what happened?
And they were planning this fake moon landing. They wanted.
But why did they have to fake it? Why?
Because it is impossible to get to the moon. If you ask any scientist, we couldn't do it. Okay. There's the Van Allen belt, which is it's impossible to get past.
Okay.
If you think of our space program and how many trips we have made since the alleged moon landing,
right?
They stopped in 1972. What sense does that even make? That if we went there, 3 or 4 times between 69 and 72, and haven't gone since, nor has anyone else, not even the Russians. It's a little bit of a stretch of the imagination to think that we did. Why would we not go?
Or no other country.
Because it's impossible to go. The furthest anyone has ever been off this planet is about 400 miles.
Wow.
The moon is what? Several hundred.
It's a quarter million.
Yes, miles away. It's just not possible. It wasn't possible in 1969, and it's not possible now.
Oh, okay. So tell me a story. This is where you're going to tell the story of Nixon and his men coming to you and saying, Stanley, we tried our best, but Gus just died on the we can't get those boys up there safely. You got to help us. You said no, and they kept pleading about that. Patriotism, Russia, the boys. We'll get there in a couple years, funding, the shtick. And I decided, okay. And then you got the gift from God, a carte blanche filmmaking. So just tell that story now and try to give it details, little ones as they come up. Okay. Boom. Now, so tell me. So you're saying it's impossible. Could you give me a list of reasons why it's impossible? And can you tell me the reasons why? We don't. I mean, you must know the reasons why we didn't go to the moon. Facts.
You want reasons? I'll give you reasons.
Yeah,
how much time do you have?
Okay, just begin then. Start. Cut. Okay. All right. So you're right. That sounds like okay. Let's just say, for argument's sake, those reasons actually sound quite compelling for us, not only not having gone to the moon, but probably not even getting there anytime soon. But forget that for a second. What happened? Who approached you? Who was behind it, and what did they do to get? Did you say yes right away?
Nixon
what
himself.
happened?
Well, I had actually talked a little bit to LBJ before, but it was mainly Nixon. He had just become president. He was elected in late '68, 69. He took office, and it's no secret that NASA always wanted to fulfill this Kennedy prophecy that we would get to the moon by the end of the decade. Well, time was running out. It was 1969. Boy, that was an experience.
They just shuttled you in privately because obviously they couldn't have you. No one could know you were meeting with him.
Yeah, he had his shoes off, which, and you could smell his feet. So it was just really kind of amazing. It was not anything I could have predicted.
So it was a casual encounter. Okay, it was in the Oval Office.
Yeah, in the Oval Office, yes.
And
but it's funny. It's an Oval Office because the walls seem to be closing in anyway. But they're drinking, so I decided to join them. I don't remember what I had because I drink almost anything. He was drinking Dewar's, I think, which, I mean, if you're going to drink Scotch, okay, but Dewar's, I don't know. Anyway, he complimented me on 2001, and then he said, speaking of space, about President Kennedy's prediction of going to the moon by the end of the decade.
Well, it was almost like a mandate. He sort of threw the gauntlet down.
And he said, well, time is running out, and we want to do that, but we can't. It's impossible. We tried. We've been testing this for years. As you may have heard, there was a launch pad accident in 1967 in which the famous Gus Grissom was killed and 2 other astronauts. After seeing your film, I am convinced, and the gentlemen at NASA are also convinced, that you can help us make people believe that we have been to the moon and back.
And you must have been startled at that moment. Okay.
Actually, a little bit, but I also knew where this was going, and I thought, what a trip. What a trip this is for me, as an artist.
Okay, you were still young and wide-eyed.
I couldn't help it. Okay. It's part of being, it's like it's the DNA or something of an artist.
Like your adrenaline got going.
Yes.
Your juice is flowing. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
And I was excited.
All right,
he didn't even have to finish, but he did. And explained to me that he wanted me to film a fake landing with fake astronauts. Well, not real astronauts, but faking the exploration of space.
Because they just knew they couldn't get there.
Because there was just no way we could get there.
And the political, I mean, they'd spent all that money, I guess. And
Yes.
there was a political brinksmanship going
Yeah,
on.
of course, Nixon wanted to make a big splash. It was early in his presidency.
Yeah,
And,
that would have made him look really like a failure.
He wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, he wanted his approval points up, and he thought nothing could do it better than this, to fulfill this dream that America has had as a country since the Kennedy years.
Okay, so you're saying the motivation was PR.
PR, absolutely, plain and simple,
Okay.
PR.
All right. And the geopolitical chess match between Russia that was going on, it would have weakened
Yes.
their position, so to speak.
Yes,
And I guess
that
money.
was background. That was great background for the story. Yes.
But it was also, it must have been about
Because
I mean,
there
it
was
about
still
money. though.
a red fear, a communist fear among the people.
Right. Sure, that was right. You're kind of yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, missile crisis and all that. Okay. But it's also really about like anything else about money. I mean, they'd spent the equivalent of $1 billion, almost $1 trillion of our dollars now on this program.
Yes, in addition
So,
to being
that must have-
impossible and unsafe, it was also terribly expensive.
But no, what
And
I'm
that's
saying is that
the-
it was so expensive that to fail would not, quote unquote, not be an option. In other words, at a certain point, you spend so much taxpayer money. My question I'm asking is Nixon motivated, whoever these men that decided this to perpetrate this fraud, was it the money? In other words, if you can't go to the, or maybe you can, I don't know. Can you go to the American people after spending $1 trillion and say, we've got nothing to show for it?
No,
So
obviously.
but I'm saying is how much of that was the motivation?
Of course, that was a huge part of it.
Can't fund something that doesn't work.
Yes.
We have, if we don't fake it, if we tell them the truth, the money goes away, even in earnest.
have
Patriotism,
to save NASA.
destroy them if the truth came out. They weren't a damaged agency. They were the hottest agency in the world, Tom. If
Isn't
the
it the
truth
opposite
came
of what
out,
you just told me?
no. I said, if the truth comes out, NASA is destroyed overnight. The program's destroyed overnight.
All right.
They weren't a hurting agency. They were the hottest thing in the news. They were the darlings of everyone. But then they realized they couldn't go. Tell the truth and become the stepchild.
Finally, he said that we can't tell people the truth, that we can't get to the moon. It would be disastrous for NASA. Their funding would dry up. People wouldn't have faith in them anymore. It would be like a
In faith, it would be
complete
over,
failure.
right? It would be over.
Yes, it would be absolutely over. So if we fake this moon landing, it would do nothing but increase the reputation, and we could go again and again if we had to.
Well, I mean, just to go the first time. I mean, so they wanted to keep the funding going. Why? Because
Well, obviously, what do you mean? I don't
well,
know.
why they wanted to lie about the moon landing to keep the funding going. Why?
Just to keep NASA viable.
Why though? Why?
Why not? Because people believe in NASA.
No, because they thought that the moon landing was just a few more years. That if they would get there, they just kept the funding going. They could get there. They could figure the problems out, but they never did. I mean, probably by 75, we're fucking never getting there. That's the sympathetic reason why they did this.
Right.
And you're like, wow, that makes sense, but it's still wrong. Get it? So Nixon says what?
He looked at his drink kind of like this and said, "We have to fake this. We have to fake this moon landing, just to keep interest in NASA, and in the next few years, we might actually be able to go for real. Now, we had to do it now. Eventually, people would lose interest, and the funding would dry up for NASA. It would just cease to exist. The greatest thing in the world for this country would be to go to the moon, and that being gone, it would be just devastating for." It was about money. It was about morale, chiefly money.